Before Restomods were a trend, before horsepower arms races, one man quietly decided Porsche didn't need fixing, only understanding. The word honest gets thrown around a lot in car culture. Honest steering, honest performance, honest feedback. It's used so casually that it's almost lost meaning. But honesty in a car isn't about being old-fashioned or deliberately primitive. It's not about rejecting progress or fetishizing the past. Honest means something specific. Clarity between input and output. When you turn the wheel, you feel exactly what the front tires are doing. When you press the throttle, you sense how the engine responds. When you brake, you know precisely how much grip remains. It's mechanical transparency. The car isn't filtering information through processors or interpreting your inputs through software. It's not smoothing out irregularities or correcting your mistakes before you feel them. The connection between you and the machine is direct, unmediated, clear. Modern performance has become something different. It's about capability, how fast the car can go, how much it can handle, and how many systems can work together to maximize output. And modern Porsches are extraordinary at this. A 992 Turbo S will obliterate any track record a vintage car could set. It's faster, more capable, more impressive by every objective measure, but capability and honesty aren't the same thing. You can have a car that's monumentally capable while feeling almost nothing. The steering is precise but tells you little. The throttle responds instantly but without texture. The chassis is perfectly balanced but isolates you from the details. You're piloting something extremely competent, but you're not really with it. You're observing its capabilities rather than experiencing them directly. Honest cars prioritize weight over power. They prioritize feedback over refinement. They prioritize involvement over assistance, not because these things are inherently better, but because they create a different kind of experience. One where you're constantly in dialogue with the machine rather than issuing commands to it. And this distinction between capability and honesty, between performance and connection, is exactly what makes Emory Motorsports' work so significant. Because while the rest of the automotive world has been chasing capability, Rod Emory has been quietly preserving something else entirely. To understand what Emory is doing, you need to understand what the 356 was. Not what it became in collector circles or what it represents culturally, but what it actually was when Porsche first built it. The 356 was Porsche's first production car. Built in Austria immediately after World War II, it was a machine born from necessity, not excess. Lightweight because materials were expensive and scarce, simple because complexity meant more points of failure, efficient because fuel was rationed and every kilometer mattered. Ferry Porsche and his small team weren't trying to build the fastest car or the most luxurious car, they were trying to build a car that worked, that could be driven daily, maintained affordably, and enjoyed reliably. The 356 wasn't designed to impress, it was designed to work. And in that constraint-driven design process, something interesting happened. Because when you can't add weight, you become obsessive about keeping it light. When you can't add power, you focus on making every horsepower count. When you can't use complexity to solve problems, you engineer simplicity that's genuinely elegant rather than just stripped down. The result was a car that felt alive precisely because there was so little between the driver and the road. The steering was direct and communicative because there was no power assistance to filter it. The chassis provided constant feedback because there was no sound deadening or isolation to muffle it. The engine's modest power meant you had to actually drive the car rather than just point it and accelerate. These weren't features, they were consequences of necessity. But they created a driving experience that was deeply engaging in ways that more powerful, more sophisticated cars weren't. And as Porsche evolved, as they built the 911 and grew into a global manufacturer, as regulations tightened and markets expanded, that original purity became harder to maintain. Not impossible, Porsche has done better than most at preserving driver engagement, but inevitably diluted by the realities of building modern production cars at scale. Which is where Emory comes in. Because while Porsche moved forward, Rod Emory stayed focused on finishing the idea they started. Rod Emory is a third-generation Porsche craftsman. His grandfather started with Porsches in the 1950s. His father continued the tradition. Rod grew up in workshops where these cars weren't museum pieces or collector's items. They were working machines that needed care, understanding, and thoughtful improvement. This lineage matters because Emory Motorsports isn't part of the Restomod trend. They didn't start building modified 356s because Singer made it fashionable or because there's money in high-end vintage Porsches. They've been doing this work for decades, long before Outlaw became a marketing term and Restomod entered the automotive vocabulary. The philosophy is fundamentally different from what most builders are doing. Most Restomods ask, how can we make this old car perform like a new one? How can we add modern power, modern brakes, modern suspension, and modern amenities? Emory asks a different question. What did Porsche intend with the 356, and how do we preserve that intent while making it usable? It's a subtle but crucial distinction. One approach treats the original car as a flawed platform to be improved. The other treats it as a complete idea that might need refinement but not fundamental reimagining. So, Emory doesn't stuff modern engines into 356s, he doesn't add power steering or air conditioning or digital displays, he doesn't try to make them fast by contemporary standards. Instead, he focuses on making them right by their own standards. Weight comes off through careful material choices, aluminum panels replacing steel where appropriate, lightened components where strength isn't compromised. Reliability improves through better metallurgy and modern bearing technology, but the fundamental mechanical architecture remains unchanged. The suspension gets refined geometry and adjustable components, but it's still the same basic design Porsche conceived in the 1950s. Emory isn't modernizing the 356, he's finishing the idea Porsche started. And to understand why this matters, why this approach creates cars that feel more honest than even new Porsches, you need to understand what Outlaw actually meant before it became a brand. The term Outlaw Porsche has been so thoroughly co-opted by marketing that most people think it means modified, aggressive, and rebellious. A Porsche that breaks the rules, a hot rod with a Porsche budget. That's not what it meant historically, not even close. In the 1950s and 60s, when Porsches were still relatively affordable sports cars, owners modified them not to rebel, but to race, to compete, to extract performance from limited budgets. They lightened cars because weight was free performance. They modified engines using readily available parts because factory power was modest. They upgraded brakes and suspension using racing knowledge because the cars were being driven hard. They changed gearing to suit specific tracks or events. This wasn't rebellion against Porsche, it was working with Porsche's engineering toward a specific goal. The modifications were period correct, purposeful, and often developed by the same mechanics and engineers who'd once worked on factory race cars. Before Outlaw was a label, this was just how Porsches were driven. The cars that came out of this culture weren't showpieces, they were tools, built to be used hard, maintained carefully, and improved thoughtfully. The aesthetic that emerged, riveted fender flares, lowered stance, functional modifications that happened to look purposeful, was a byproduct of function, not a style choice. And this is the tradition Emory works within. His cars aren't outlaws in the modern marketing sense. They're historically accurate representations of what privateer Porsches actually were, thoughtfully modified, carefully built, and intended for serious use. The difference between an Emory 356 and a modern Porsche isn't that one is rebellious and one is corporate, it's that one preserves the philosophy of direct, unmediated driver involvement that defined early Porsche culture, while the other has necessarily evolved to meet modern expectations of refinement, capability, and regulatory compliance. Which brings us to the heart of the matter: what gets lost in that evolution and why it matters. Modern Porsches are incredible. Let's be absolutely clear about that before going any further. A current 911, even a base Carrera, is faster, safer, more reliable, and more comfortable, and way more capable than anything from the 356 era by orders of magnitude. The engineering is brilliant, the execution is flawless, and the performance is staggering. But here's what they've also become: explainers. Modern Porsches tell you what they're doing. The digital displays show you lateral G-forces, tire pressure, oil temperature, every system status. The stability control lights blink when it's working. The throttle response changes based on which drive mode you've selected. The steering weight adjusts with speed. Everything is communicated through information rather than sensation. You know what the car is doing because it tells you, not because you feel it. Emory's 356s work differently. They don't explain, they show. The steering doesn't tell you it's detected understeer. You feel the front end start to push through the wheel going light in your hands. The chassis doesn't display its limit, you sense it through the seat, through the way the car begins to float, through the subtle changes in how it responds to inputs. Nothing is mediated, nothing is filtered. The car isn't managing your experience or protecting you from information it thinks might be confusing or overwhelming, it's just showing you, directly and honestly, exactly what's happening at the contact patches. New Porsches are incredible, but they explain less, not more. And for some people who want to truly understand what a car is doing, who want to develop the skill to read those subtle signals, who find meaning in that direct connection, the Emory approach offers something modern cars have systematically removed in the pursuit of capability and refinement. This isn't nostalgia, it's not about pretending old is better than new, it's about recognizing that in the march toward ever greater performance, something specific and valuable was left behind. And that thing, direct, unfiltered communication between driver and machine, is what Emory has dedicated his life to preserving. But this philosophy isn't new. In fact, it's the same thinking that powered Porsche's earliest successes, proven on the world's most demanding stage. Because we're living in a moment when cars are objectively better than they've ever been, yet somehow less engaging than they used to be. Performance has never been more accessible. You can buy a family sedan that accelerates faster than supercars from 20 years ago. Technology has never been more sophisticated. Active aerodynamics, torque vectoring, hybrid powertrains that seamlessly blend electric and combustion power, and yet connection is disappearing. The average driver of a modern performance car experiences a carefully curated version of driving. The rough edges are smooth, the dangerous moments are caught by safety systems before they become dangerous, the feedback is filtered to prevent overwhelm, everything is managed, optimized, and perfected. Which is wonderful for capability, for lap times, and for accessibility, hell, even for making performance available to more people. But it's antithetical to honesty, because honesty requires rough edges. It requires the possibility of mistakes. It requires unfiltered feedback, even when that feedback is uncomfortable or challenging. These cars aren't honest because they're old, they're honest because nothing gets between you and the experience. And in a world that's forgotten what automotive honesty even means, Emory's work might be the most important work of all.